Hey, Mim.
Hey, Scarlett.
Welcome back, guys. You're listening to Style Over Substance.
We're just two friends talking about our experiences working inside the fashion industry and also our observations from outside the fashion industry. It's sometimes serious, but it's definitely always a good laugh.
Always. We release new episodes every Tuesday.
So subscribe on your favorite podcast listening platforms.
Happy birthday, Mim. Hang on. Wasn't that last week?
Yes, that was last week. I think we've been through this already.
We've been through this, but how does it feel?
Oh, it's great. Living the dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Hanging.
Well, I'm not. But I sound really dreadful. Just really tired. For full clarity, we celebrated Miranda's birthday. I'm just really tired.
Yeah, same.
I sent someone a voice note earlier and I was like, I sound god awful. Like I sound on death's door.
You know you're not supposed to listen back to your voice notes.
No, I didn't. Whilst I was recording it, I was like, I can tell now. I sound like I am lying on the bathroom floor.
Oh, God. Have you been watching a new season of Love is Blind?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been watching it.
Big time.
Yeah.
I think I'm already up to date. I've been really enjoying it.
Up to date. What are the episodes released steadily?
No, they do them. No, as in like I'm up to date as far as you can be.
Oh, okay.
In terms, I think they like released like 4 episodes and then they released another 4.
Oh, okay.
And then next week, I think maybe it's on the 25th, they release the final 4. So I'm up to date until they release more.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. I've really been enjoying it. Yeah, I really like it.
I have my favorite couple and least favorite couples, and there's a lot of least favorite couples, to be honest.
Okay.
Tell
me your favorite couple.
Well, I'm at the stage where they've just gone on their honeymoon. They're pre-moon, whatever, in Mexico. It's like the second or third day that they're there. I love Iana and what's her husband's name? The tall guy who's 6'1".
You're really good at names as well, so I'm not going to get there. Jarrett,
that's it. I'll see. Believe in yourself, Scarlett.
Yeah.
I feel like it's going to turn sour. I feel, when you love someone so much, you're just like, please do not screw this up because I can sense something is happening.
Yeah.
Least favorite couples / couples I don't think are good for each other.
Oh, toxic.
Yeah. The girl who got food poisoning.
Oh, yes.
And her mate.
I think he's called Nick.
I don't know. She's just displayed some examples of deep insecurity.
Yeah.
You know when people start fights for no reason?
Yeah.
So don't like that
and also, I think it's funny because when you watch stuff like this, the shows like Love Island and all of that, where you can see the way people argue or you can see these insecurities play out. She talks to him in a certain way, but if he talks that way back to her, she has an issue with it. And I think if you're a certain type of fighter, you have to be prepared for someone to fight the same way back.
Yeah, like you have to give as good as you get.
Yeah.
Or, it might be the other way around, that phrase. I'm not sure. But so yeah, I agree. Another one which they've actually broken up, so I'm glad, is the blonde lady. I can't even remember their names. The blonde lady. Yeah.
Her name was Shayna.
Oh, I see.
Because she fancied Shane, so it was Shane and Shayna.
Oh yeah.
But he was called, I don't know.
Them too, but they've broken up, so it's fine.
Yeah. that was never going to work out.
Indian couple,
such a difference in religion was never going to work out.
Oh my god, it was never. And she saw it, and I was actually. She
didn't even really want him.
No, but I was glad that she was able to like walk away from it instead of them staying together and hanging in there, and it just going
and not even leaving it till the wedding day. Just yeah.
They had some fundamental differences, and it was really sad to see that he couldn't see it, and he was propping her up, very reminiscent of the first series.
Yeah.
Remember that Italian American guy?
Yeah.
That other blonde older woman. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I could tell as soon as she was really similar to that girl.
Yeah.
Like I could tell that straight away. And then you talk about the Indian couple.
Mm-hmm. I think
she's called Deeps and he's called
Shake.
Yeah.
I think that he got off on the wrong foot with me because he came into it being like, you know, I only date blonde girls.
Yeah.
And then him being too superficial.
Yeah.
And you really got to be a stunner before you start judging people. People look.
But also know the room that you've just signed up to be in.
Do you know what I mean? So, and I think right now because he's not massively attracted to her, I don't think. But she is craving that physical attention. It's quite intense.
Yeah.
I think they're going to clash at some point. That's it.
Yeah, it's actually a really funny thing because obviously they connect, but it's sort of like, obviously it's trying to see, is love blind? Well, it's not, because like the success rate then of coming out of it isn't necessarily because it's just, I think if you don't have that initial attraction, or if they're not the person that you thought, or just even like certain things just build up physical things. But I love it so
I think
much.
This show shows you that you can really kid yourself. You can really convince yourself to feel a certain way about people. But it's like, as you said, it's a great show. It's a great show.
Great show. What's your fashion story?
So my first one is just a little one, just in case. Well, obviously we have London Fashion Week going on, and our friends at Hood London, who's been guests on our podcast, had made the hats for Richard Quinn's show, and I believe they'd done it before, actually. I think last year as well.
They were amazing.
Great hats. They were like these big brimmed hats, obviously coloured in his like signature floral, but then it would come down past the forehead over the eyes, and there'd be eye cutouts, so you could like see through your hat. There was like bondage inspired pieces. There were it was a really cool I love the show, and also nice to see some great hats.
Really nice, and also like a really perfect collaboration for them, that you could see it was still their style on his catwalk, which I think is great.
Sure. So that was cool. But then my full one is price rises were announced at Louis Vuitton and other brands, but you know, Louis Vuitton was the announcement, and the girlies lost their shit. I think everyone who buys luxury or aspires to buy luxury or questions whether it's worth it for them had something to say about price rises and the reason for it, and whether it's justified and all of that. I mean, we saw this last year, but I think this was just another, you know, like piled on top of the last year that we had of being like, well, why are there price rises? But it's an interesting discussion. I think we'll probably have an episode on pricing, price rises, and how we feel about them. But they're luxury goods. Do we need them? No. But when you actually see the increase in prices for these things over the past 5 years, they're massive.
Yeah. And also, I think that the tricky thing is that Louis Vuitton has always been on the edge of having the more affordable pieces and can be more of an entry level brand for people. Like at one point, the Neverfull was kind of like 500 quid, like very, most people would be able to think, if they really wanted it, would be able even to set aside like 5 quid to get that, or just start their saving journey for something like that. And even in terms of luxury handbags now, with the likes of Chanel being like $5,000 plus generally, they were all around like sort of the 1.5. Like there were entry level pricing for their bags, which just meant that people kind of loved it. It's that instant recognizable thing. And so for it to kind of push a bit further away for us everyday folk, just probably is a bit disappointing, because you're right, we don't need to aspire for these things. And maybe it should, as you said, we'll cover it, but maybe it's a check on, well, come on now.
Yeah, taking the piss a bit.
Because actually, maybe you could justify a bag for $1.5 grand, which is a lot of money. But when it maybe goes up to 3, is that just pure insanity?
Yeah. So, yeah, it is a lot, because, for example, I saw a post, I think it was like on the community tab on YouTube, and someone had said, in 2019 I bought my mini pochette for like $350, bearing in mind this is like US dollars, and now it's like almost $800.
Bloody hell.
And I feel like 2 of those years were complete write-offs. So it really,
no one was buying luxury goods then.
No one was going anywhere, so those years don't count. So 2019 for me feels like yesterday, feels like last year, let's say. And to see that sort of increase is madness. Now, it's an indication of, obviously, really most countries right now have crazy inflation, and it's a sign of the times. But I mean, even Business of Fashion reported that Chanel 2.55 bag, or is it 2.55? I'm not sure how it's said. It's very similar to a classic flat, but without like the double C logo and whatnot, that had doubled in price in the last 5 years.
Wow.
The problem is that we, and I say we as a collective, I don't mean me, because I haven't bought any Chanel, but we are still buying into these brands. So they know that they can edge the price upwards and upwards and upwards, and there'll still be some of us who will aspire to buy that stuff. And I think that's what's caused us to have the belief that a bag for 1,500 is somewhat normal, because we compare it to £6,000 bags of Chanel.
Crikey. It's a lot. And I get it, but it's a tricky one. Of course they have to survive as a company. Are we paying the cost of COVID and the effect of that on them, or are they just jumping on the bandwagon of the cost of living is going up, and they're jumping on that too? I think it's just a lot, especially in the climate. So it's probably not taken kindly that our general expenditure is going to be going up without there being obviously like a national rise in salaries. So that feels even further away, saving for something like that, because your bills are now going up, all of that stuff is going up, everyday stuff in the supermarket, like even like the cost of butter. Literally the other day I was like, hang on, this is just now like 20p more like than it was last week. And that's not like, I guess that is quite a big rise, 10%, but still, it's just like crazy that all those little things add up. I think milk took a big hit, didn't it? But yeah, like it's just that thing of it's even further away to be lusting after, I guess.
I still believe that you'll get your Chanel.
I will. This won't stop me. I mean, don't get me wrong, I won't do anything stupid like remortgaging a house or anything for one. But even if I buy one of Festec, like even if it's secondhand, even if I'm not walking into that shop and putting £7,000 on a counter, I will have one for sure. And actually, what I will say is Chanel now have quite a lot of like wallets on chains.
Yeah.
That are kind of like just really nice small evening bags, essentially. And then they're more in like the 1,500, 2,000.
I think a lot of people have clocked on to that.
Yeah. And, that's all you really like. Obviously, it'd be nice to have a day bag type of a thing. But if I'm going to work or if I'm going even around my parents' house, or if I was like, I could have a tote bag with me that actually has the stuff that I need, you know?
Yeah, your wallet on chain is just the flex.
Yes.
Yeah, I get that.
So if that's what it has to be for now, that's what it has to be.
What is your fashion story?
So similar to... let me find what the show is. Similar to your story about fashion collaborations, I've been following Tom Daley over the last week because he's done a comic relief, a comic relief challenge, and so he collaborated with D.W. Fletcher. Who is that? Daniel Fletcher, fashion designer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, his brand is Daniel W. Fletcher. But basically, Tom Daley provided the knitwear for the show. Because we all know Tom Daley, Super Knitter, has created his like Made with Love by Tom Daley or whatever it is brand. He like helped provide the knitwear for the show. And I just really felt chuffed about that. I thought that was really cool. I've really liked his presence since the Beijing Olympics. Was it Beijing? No, Tokyo. Really like his presence online of just being a bit of like, he's a bit of a fashion kid and he likes his style. And I've never seen him take these risks before. And I don't know if that's because he's moving away from his sort of diving career and he feels more confident or whatever it is.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. But you know who was also at this show? Was our good old friend, Francis Bourgeois.
Oh, wow.
He had a selfie with Francis Bourgeois.
Oh my God, Francis is in all the circles.
And I was so happy. It was just a real, these are the people that you want to see do well. We've talked about this quite a lot recently.
Yeah.
But these are the people, you know, like seeing Hood London, like these are the things that it's really nice to celebrate.
Yeah.
As sort of those unexpected things that are just like, yeah, that's actually really cool. And of course that makes sense or whatever it is.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, I don't follow Tom Daley at all, but I knew that he was big into knitting.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know he had a little thing with his knitting and that it would be on a show. That was the last thing I thought.
Yeah.
And you're probably right. He's probably thinking about the next phase of his career, whatever that might be.
He launched this brand, I'm going to say maybe October, November time, in the run up to Christmas. So I think, you know, he's making moves in his life and yeah.
It's great.
It's a cool time to be Tom Daley. Got a gold medal around your neck. The
nation's knitter.
Yeah. We interrupt this broadcast to say, go follow us on Instagram. Our handle is @StyleOverSubstance pod. There you'll find our weekly fashion topics, all the stuff that we discuss in each episode. and our polls.
Or reach out to us at StyleOverSubstancePodcast@gmail.com for new suggestions of topic discussions, or even to share your own fashion stories. We also have a YouTube channel, Style Over Substance Podcast, if you'd rather listen to our episodes over there.
Back to the episode.
This week, we never pass up an opportunity to talk about Pretty Little Thing.
Never.
And this week's
welcome,
fashion news
Boohoo.
delivered. Yeah. The conglomerate of boohoo.com. And yeah, obviously, I'm sure all of you have heard about the protests and the outrage of the prospect of Pretty Little Thing having an official London Fashion Week show during Fashion Week. Now, spoiler alert, it wasn't an official London Fashion Week show, but there was a show that was held by Pretty Little Thing during London Fashion Week, nonetheless. And there were protests outside of it by various people who were just not happy at the prospect of Pretty Little Thing being aligned with a really significant group of brands representing UK fashion for many reasons, which we'll go into. But yeah, we just thought we'd have to talk about it. I think there's questions around why we think they should or shouldn't be participating in London Fashion Week, the reasons for it, and also, do they deserve it? Lots of questions. But yeah, how did you come to find out about the Pretty Little Things fashion show?
I think I saw Molly May posting something like, I think I sent you the picture. It was like London Fashion Week coming soon, like PLT times London Fashion Week. And I think, I think we even included it on here. I was outraged to see that. And I think a lot of people have also, the outrage and the way that it's been marketed has implied that it is an official event. I think actually London Fashion Week officially started on the 18th. So it was 2 days before the official start or whatever. But we were very much led to believe as followers, consumers, whatever, that this was a fast fashion brand taking part as per all these other brands.
Yeah. Because you're right, like she did post London Fashion Week, here we come, or get ready or whatever, and Pretty Little Thing had posted that. And then I think on the actual day of the show,
oh my God,
a fellow Love Islander who was in attendance had tweeted about being front row. And it wasn't explicit, like we're part of the official lineup, because no brand communicates that we're part of the official schedule. But it was but
that's like you had something for your birthday yesterday and trying to claim that it was part of London Fashion Week. It was just on the same week. But it's as stupid as that. So that's
that's the thing. A fast fashion brand, whether you think they should or shouldn't, the reason why it was marketed in that way is it gives credibility to a brand like that. It's really prestigious as a UK brand, whether they design the stuff or not, to be associated with Fashion Week. It's like the highest, it's the pinnacle for any brand, isn't it?
It's what you would aspire to. And I actually think it irked me more when I heard that it wasn't a part of the official scheduling. I hadn't made my peace with it, but I kind of thought, you know what, this is what money, this is what attention can get you. And I also don't know if maybe the fashion scene is changing and they think that people should be able to see clothes that they can afford on a runway. That doesn't seem totally alien to me.
Mm-hmm.
Should it be more independent brands? Yes. Blah, blah, blah. But when it's like you are actually mis-selling and you are purposefully misleading, and no, like you said, it wasn't them trying to claim it was some official event, but they knew what they were insinuating.
Of course, yeah.
And I think that's from comments that I've seen on different videos and online. I think that's annoyed a lot of people, is that insinuation. And also the fact that at the end, Molly May takes a bow as if she designed the fucking collection. Which, as we were discussing yesterday, is an edit.
Yeah. So let's get into it.
Yeah.
Because first thing is, not only were they falsely trying to align themselves with official scheduling, but so from what I understand, it was an edit. And it was stuff that was already in existence being sold on the website. But it was more like a Molly May's edit, or like stuff she likes, from what I understand. It was
not a new collection.
But Pretty Little Thing has actually come out and communicated themselves that it was produced in collaboration with Molly and the PLT team. So which is it?
Yeah. But also, she's not... I don't know. The reality is the kind of things that were in this show, and I have some positive things to say about the show, and I'll make sure that we have that space for that too, because it shouldn't just be all slander. But they're not reinventing the wheel, are they, at Pretty Little Thing? You know?
Yeah.
We've seen these sort of like, and I don't even know if I want to say this, the term basic bitch, because I don't mean it in a bad way, but we know what that typical girl going out looks are these days.
We've all got them.
We've all got them. I've got loads of them, don't you worry, that sit and probably a moth eaten in my wardrobe. But they aren't changing the game. They aren't pairing things together that you're like, wow. It's pretty generic, whether that hadn't existed in that color on the website, or I don't know. But I'm inclined to say it's an edit. And
it's not us being like assholes, but the collection, if you've seen it, guys, it's samey. It's stuff we've all seen before. Not saying it's horrible stuff.
No.
But it's not like, for example, one of the gripes.
There's not really much print. That's, she could have maybe helped to design a print. Yeah. And that could have been on certain things like the Molly May print or whatever. There was one print in there.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like, I think one of my gripes, and I know that other people kind of feel the same, is when we have Fashion Week, it's for a new collection. So a collection is designed as a whole, as a coherent collection to some extent, and it's new stuff that is put out into the world, and it's not for a brand that has a collection every week of the year.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That's not curated. That's not intentional. That's not a collection, if you were to ask me. So Pretty Little Thing to me doesn't fit into that model. Now, is it to say that London Fashion Week shouldn't like get with the times and start incorporating more brands that don't adhere to traditional scheduling? Yeah, maybe, like, cool, that's not a problem. But I think if they were to have like Pretty Little Thing as part of London Fashion Week, it would be encouraging the gross overconsumption of fashion. It would just be like green lighting it to say, yeah, these really cheap pieces that new stuff comes out every single week.
Thousands of stuff hit like the website each week.
Yeah. And that we encourage that level of like overproduction. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, and I think this is the problem that people had with her being creative director in the first place, myself for sure included. that's a job reserved for someone who's, you know, climbed the ranks, a designer, arguably, or a creative. And London Fashion Week is for designers, you know, and yeah, she doesn't have to have sat down and drawn it. But we also know that she's just been told, what do you think of these? She goes, yep, no, yep. Can we try that in blue?
Yeah.
And that's probably been her input at most. Maybe she's done more. I don't know. I don't want to say that, but you know, she hasn't gone from the beginning thinking of, there wasn't an aesthetic. It's not like there was a theme. I actually think it would have been a bit more rewarding, like you said, had they maybe started going, guys, we're going to do a bit more of a seasonal drop. We won't be releasing as much on the website. We will still probably keep our like going out stuff churning through.
Yeah.
But this is our day wear launching, and it's more focused or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that could have worked well. I don't know. Yeah.
Another really significant part to all of this is the issue of, let's call it what it is, slave labor in fashion.
Yeah.
And so kind of my take on all of this is that whatever we see, okay, again, this was not part of London Fashion Week, but if it were, if London Fashion Week were to bring Pretty Little Thing into the fold and be like, yeah, show, be on our official scheduling and all this stuff, it's a cosign. It's like, we rate you. We want you to be part of what we're doing here. It's a green light. And it would be green lighting obvious abuses of labour laws in this country. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, there are lots of other brands, luxury brands as well, that in their production, in their supply chain, people are getting paid pittances to make these things, and that's not right. I think that everyone should be like held to the high standard, and it should be like a gold standard to say this is the best that we can offer as a country, and that's why they're in London Fashion Week. And all the brands that participate in like slave labor, not paying workers enough, over pollution, overproduction, all of that should be like checked, you know, just because I think the excuse that I've seen a lot of is like, oh, well, if you have a problem with Pretty Little Thing, don't you know that like all these other luxury brands do it? And it's like, well, yeah, and they shouldn't.
Yeah, but I think that they're Molly May fans, because a lot of people are like, would you be saying this if she wasn't the creative director? And probably, yeah. And yes, it's gained more traction. But first of all, before she came appointed, we were ripping boohoo.com, their parent company, to shreds regardless. And let us not forget that it was in June 2020 that the Sunday Times found that they were paying workers at a boohoo factory in this country, in Leicester, £3.50 an hour.
Yeah.
So, you know, that is still relevant. That, like you said, the pandemic makes it feel like that was literally yesterday.
Yeah.
And also the statements they've issued about that have just been very politically, like,
very like corporate speak, isn't
just
it?
saying nothing. It's like, yeah, like corporate speak, it's politician speech. It's them sort of apologizing without actually saying sorry, without actually addressing anything to do with it, sort of denying it.
Yeah, so, they said something like
they said it's not their factory
and we've audited it all, our partners and things like that. And it's like,
and even in response, so I don't know if we should talk about the fact that, so with the protests, there's obviously a big chat about the issue of pay and just that it's an exploitive brand. And there was a spokesperson for Pretty Little Thing said that any suggestion that people making clothes for Pretty Little Thing or any other Boohoo group brand are paid lower than minimum wage is grossly inaccurate.
That was it.
We publish a list of all of our approved UK and international manufacturers, all of whom have been audited over the last 18 months, blah, 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 and that they operate a whistleblowing hotline for anyone who has concerns.
Yeah.
Again, that's a lot of waffle. That's very corporate. And also, I think I definitely experience this even when visiting factories. Our main factories that we visited were perfectly fine for companies that I've worked for. But you don't know unless you go seek it out, which people just kind of choose not to do, or just trust or believe in the process that everything's fair. But who's to say that lovely factory in Italy isn't subbing it out, because that not everything gets made into the factory that they show you or where they make samples. They then have factories that do like the bulk producing. Who's to say that that's not in like the suburbs of Italy or in a different country or in Turkey, and there's cheaper labor going on there? Just because the main factory doesn't have it doesn't mean they're not subdoing it, because otherwise that wouldn't have happened 2 years ago. And their clothes haven't gone up. So what national what's minimum wage, isn't it like £9
for someone over 21? I feel 25 or something.
So what, you're telling me that you have upped that wage now to the appropriate level and you haven't had to raise the cost of any of your clothes? It's not great. And apparently,
do I trust them? No fucking way. I don't trust anything that they have to say. They've shown themselves for what sort of company they are. And even if like someone said, you know, they have changed their ways, they've improved, they no longer deal with those companies and whatnot, I'd be like, cool. But there are still there are still the over,
there's other issues.
There's other issues.
That's just one.
I think, you know what, they are trying to go down the Topshop route. And before, you know, years ago, like 15 years ago or something like that, when Topshop used to have an official show at London Fashion, official, wasn't it? Show at London Fashion Week, and that was a big deal, and there were massive like big named models who walk in the shows, and that was like quite cool for Topshop. And from that, you know, you had like the premium lines, and then you had like the normal regular Topshop lines and stuff. And back then, as a whole, all of us were blindly ignorant to sweatshops and all of that. We didn't look at Topshop and be like, oh, they shouldn't be there because of X, Y, and Z reason. It was like, oh, this is quite cool. This is different. They're like ahead of the curve or whatever. Now we know better, and we hold companies into account we take them as a whole, you know, and say, okay, your clothes are cool, but what about these other things? And I think they're trying to pull a Topshop, kind of, but they don't realize we're past it. We're past it. We're over it, guys. So I hope that they don't get inducted into the, you know, the official scheduling of London Fashion Week, because I think really there's probably a lot of brands that need to be brought up to a higher standard.
I just don't see how they could be until they address these controversies. I mean, even brands that don't get as much of a hard time, like Zara, H&M, even if they tried to do it, like you just kind of can't now. The red tape around the high street should be strict. There should, you know, and no, I don't need all my clothes going up in price. I'm aware it all comes with a cost, but yeah, I think, I mean, even I didn't see this, but obviously last year they had the 99% off of Black Friday. Apparently the one just gone, they were had things that were 100% off, free.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So then that's making
when was this?
I think it must have been the past Black Friday, so November.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's making a mockery of whoever's made your garment. You know, to give it away for free. That makes mockery of the process. Yeah, I think ethically, and it's not like Pretty Little Thing is the face of them all these online fast fashion retailers.
Yeah.
So they get the brunt of it, and it is the same. It would be the same if it was in the style or whatever, like insert website name, it misguided, it would be the same. But I think it's just, it's farcical. So one of the posters that one of the protesters was holding was saying that they think the estimated salary that Molly May is getting paid is £4.8 million a year.
I saw that and I thought, what the fuck? And it was funny because there were a lot of great comments talking about how Molly May has clearly been using her 24 hours wisely.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest. Let's see it for what it is. And I hope she can see it for what it is that she is where she is because she's a pretty girl who had some like tweaks and some work done. She looks very polished and put together. And that's why she's successful as she is. There is no other reason. Like when she was in the villa, I used to be like, that girl's got great hair extensions. Look how bouncy her hair is. Every night she's always giving us like a great look. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not because of her personality particularly,
or her work ethic,
because trust me, if
put that to a good manager, to the fact that you're blonde hair, sort of petite, beautiful girl.
Yeah.
Like, unfortunately, those things count in our society.
Yeah. And so this
celeb
is her wage
couple
overinflated? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
She probably pulls in a lot of money in terms of through like influencing. There are a lot of girls out there and guys who see her as someone to aspire to or want to buy into that, and they follow her and they'll buy Pretty Little Thing. And that's probably where her wage has come from. But would she be getting paid that if she wasn't Molly May, the pretty girl who was on Love Island? No, she wouldn't.
No.
So it's wild. I've seen a lot of people say, she's just worked really hard and she's just let her like
she's 22.
Have her flowers basically.
she might have worked hard, but she is also 22. And I'm telling you now, I've watched some of her YouTube videos. This girl is not staying up till like 2 a.m. sat checking which looks are going to be in the show. Like, when it used to be the run up to Fashion Week, the extra hours I would be working, I would be like, I wouldn't be living this sort of the life that she seems to be, having sort of what looks like quite a lot of spare time, or nipping off to do a photo shoot.
You would be contacted
by company.
Exactly. She's got things on the side.
You've got other stuff going on.
Oh my gosh.
You couldn't work owning a company, doing your influencer stuff, being a YouTuber, and whatever else it is that she's doing, and this job, if she was doing it the way that I have seen other people who are creative directors do it.
Yeah.
So, and even then, if she was, that salary is ghastly when you think of that hourly rate we just discussed. And the fact that, I don't know, I think it's always really dangerous when there's such a big figure at the top of a company. I don't ever, when there's also people earning like minimum wage, I don't think that's ever a great look.
I mean, that happens the world over. That's
of course, but it's
CEO salary.
It doesn't look great, does it?
No. And that's why I think it's a massive problem within the industry. Like, whether it's luxury brands or not, there's a lot of the issues that we've discussed regarding Pretty Little Thing happens in other brands. And don't get me wrong, I think we should call out these brands, but we also collectively, and there's a lot of people who don't care, quite frankly, about this stuff. We also have to think about, like, we vote with our money, and also we have to check ourselves and be like, I think I buy too much. Cheap, like really cheap clothing, and I don't take care of it, and I don't use it and wear them and love them enough and hang on to them. And, you know, we also have to think, well, in much the same way that we talk about price increases for Chanel and that lot, if we continue to buy this stuff, they will continue to do
winning.
what they're doing.
Yeah.
Why?
The power is in the consumer's hands.
Yeah. Why release 4 or 5 collections a year for like Pretty Little Thing? Why would they change the way they do their business? What? Because we've had a bit of a moan for a week. They're still making billions. I mean, Pretty Little Thing is an offshoot of Boohoo.com, and they make billions. Like,
yeah,
I couldn't tell you the difference between Boohoo and Pretty Little Thing, if I'm honest, like in terms of offering.
No.
But they just replicated the formula, and it works because we all buy into it.
Yeah. So true. So true. And actually, I think also the reason that I think it's somewhat justified to give Molly May a bit of a hard time is you've associated your name to this brand that could be doing better. And of course, that's the case of a lot of things, but you've decided to look past all of the negativity and still want to associate yourself with a brand who can definitely do better in a lot of areas. And apparently they are filming a documentary.
Oh, stop.
With Molly May. Some like behind the scenes stuff. This girl is raking in. She's writing a bloody book. She's 22. We don't need her memoir.
We don't.
Guess what it's called?
Oh, hold on. Let me think. Molly May Day. I don't know.
Becoming
Molly
May. And you know whose book title was called Becoming Michelle Obama? Who's let her do that? I know, like, Becoming is not like Michelle can't have ownership of that, but she kind of can. Just call it Molly May.
She's writing a book.
She's written it.
It's not for us. It's not for our demographic.
It's not for us.
The 16-year-olds.
But this girl is like, her manager, you know, it's like the devil works hard, but Christiana works harder. Molly May's manager has what, like, she makes use of her 24 hours, I'm sure.
Yeah, kudos to her manager, because that's the real hustle there.
And so she's got, supposedly there's a documentary. I just saw this someone commented this, but also they're going to start doing like a resale thing.
Hold on, Pretty Little Thing. Oh, I think I've seen this.
Nothing is. I don't want someone's
it's not resellable
worn synthetic dress.
No,
I just don't.
And how much is it going to be? Because you know what? Even if I bought something, the
trouble of sending that back to them to be posted out is not worth the fact that you can get a dress on there anyway for £8.
No, because when you buy something from, let's take Topshop or H&M or something, you buy an item, you wear it, you're like, let me put it on eBay now because I'm not wearing it again.
You'd be lucky to get more than a £5.
Yeah, you would be lucky to get even a £5. Like,
I think £3,
a couple pounds on there. And you can't even ask people for postage because I'd be like, the nerve.
Yeah.
So
be included these days.
You would just think, as a consumer, you go on eBay, you'd be like, I'm looking for a cheap look. I don't want to spend too much money. And then you go on there and you realize I might as well just spend £20 and get it brand new in store. So I have no idea if you're buying Pretty Little Thing like contour dresses for £15 and it doesn't hold its value, it doesn't hold its shape, it doesn't hold its fabric, then what is this? What is the resale value in it?
It's madness. Like, this to me says that they're just not addressing. They think they're being relevant to the important stuff, but I think they're totally missing it.
Is it a form of greenwashing? Like, oh yeah, we horrible abuses.
Well, we've got this resale market, and you know, we really take our like carbon footprint. We're recycling in the office. It'll be stuff like that on her documentary, I'm sure, and her in all these boardrooms and whatever.
Yeah. Reduce, reuse, recycle, guys.
Yeah, but equally, first things first. When I watch her videos, she doesn't have a reusable water bottle. Molly May.
Man, that's basic. That's entry level stuff.
If I were an influencer, you best believe I would never ever hold like that. Must be a meme of Boris Johnson where the aide takes his paper cup out of his hand.
Oh yeah.
Like you would always have a reusable cup for water. Like, but it's just what we're all trying to do. And yes, there are times where you don't like you forget to bring it or whatever.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But I do think that there isn't really an excuse now for buying a bottle of Evian water sort of every day.
No, that's too much. Just use the water out of your tap. Get a Brita filter, Molly May. Refill your jug, refill your bottle. It's just basic, isn't it?
Yeah. So, you know, like, and that's a fundamental, like I remember, I think I've said it before, a brand I worked for was like, should we, you know, is it really awful that we're like still using crock? Is that really bad for the environment? And I was like, you don't even recycle, you know?
Yeah.
Like, where is your conscience wanes?
I mean, I'm looking forward to this documentary book thing. I mean,
she's just trying to take over the world. Good for her, man. Like, I'm not resentful of the fact that she is somehow doing well for herself. That doesn't irk me. That happens. And she's created this path for herself. But I do think that the show was really problematic. I said I'd say the positives. The inclusivity of the models was amazing. And something that we definitely don't see at London Fashion Week enough.
Yeah.
That was really cool. And you could tell, obviously, the girls probably weren't normally models and basing that on their walks. Also, because we don't see people like that. We don't see people like that on the runway. So, of course, they're not going to have... don't get me wrong, guys. My walk would be awful. I've got to trudge. But that was amazing. And that was really cool and really amazing to see, but that doesn't, I think that got lost, and that's the shame. That got lost. The headline wasn't, oh my god, the headline was about the protests that I saw anyway.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I have to admit that if you just Google like Pretty Little Thing London Fashion Week, then it comes up with the news of the protests before, like, you know, Vogue is like featuring their images or something like that. Yeah, I think you're right. I think the inclusivity where it's like wheelchair users, bigger women, slimmer women, shorter, hijab wearing women, I think that is a good look. But when we're in an environmental crisis, you know, when there are brands and companies that try to be like, look, we're doing this.
Yeah.
You're like, look at this massive
avert your eyes.
Avert your eyes. That was it. It's easy.
Can I just say
diverse models?
Because there's been the Netflix shows of like the Tinder swindler, reinventing Anna. I feel like I'm really recognizing these toxic traits at the moment. But that's what these like masterminds were doing, right? Is that you kind of be like, hang on, why do you need that money? But let me just show you this, and that's what they're doing. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say. So it's very much avert your eyes and let's not focus on the important things. It's very easy to hire diverse models. Not an expensive thing to do, you know, you just cast regular girls, and that's great. But the real commitment to their issues is addressing their supply chain and their production and the materials they use and the companies they work with. And that's the real work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and even holding that commitment with those models, right? It means nothing if all the models on your website are still the same, like classic fit size model, and then the token plus size model. Have these women represented also on your website for one. Because like you said, it's really easy. And of course, like anyone who has a fashion show now, if you're not doing something a bit like that, especially if you're a high street brand, then you're missing a trick. It's an easy tick box exercise. But you're right, it doesn't hide from the fact that like I wonder if the materials are one of the most harmful things, because they're not easy to be destroyed. They go into landfill, they don't disintegrate, they're very much synthetic, like made of plastic fibers that don't break down easily, and they go into landfill and they don't decompose well. They're not made of something natural either, so it means that we are releasing harmful chemicals into the environment to make these things. Lots of water's probably used, and it's it's all of that too that I think it would be really interesting, and I actually really hope someone does it. Someone a bit like Louis Theroux, but it's probably a bit too trendy.
I think he loves a bit of pop culture.
I know, but he sort of likes, I don't know, but someone has to address, maybe it'll be like Stacey Dooley. But someone's got to address this, man. Someone has to do, since the protest, I think there needs to be a real nosedive into it. I'm surprised we didn't get that documentary after the 2020 thing. We need some investigative journalism into, like, we need, like you said, we need to educate people, because I saw loads of comments on TikToks that I saw going, oh my God, I didn't know this, never buying from them again.
Yeah, and I was shocked at like
how do you not know this?
What? Are you living under a rock?
But maybe people don't, and maybe people need to be educated. And I'm not saying this because I want there to be none of these brands. They can exist in the right way. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure half of the clothes I own are made in there's something bad about them. I'm sure of it. Even if they're expensive, that doesn't mean that they're made ethically or whatever. But I think circling back to what you said a while back, it's in our hands. So if we have that information, I can then think, you know what? Yeah, I know this is like a throwaway £10 dress, but it's the only one I bought this year. And so I don't feel as guilty, or, oh my God, I would normally buy a new dress for this, and I'm not going to, because I watched that, or I'm more educated on it and I don't need it. I think we just sort of need a bit of a constant or just some good information on that, because I've sought that out from working for companies where I think my place of work showed us a video once, and I think I had to watch some stuff as well on my degree for part of my dissertation. But I think it should be more of like a popular culture documentary on Netflix, like Cowspiracy type of a thing, for fast fashion.
I agree.
It's one of the biggest threats to our climate as well, is the fashion industry with its carbon footprint, and with all these fabrics, and the fact that it's got to be one of the biggest contributors to landfill, surely.
Yeah.
So that we have to stand to attention for it.
I think I completely agree. It's not just about providing people with stats and the figures and things like that. I think it's about having the argument articulated to you to say, what are the reasons why we don't think this should be happening?
Yeah.
Some may say this, but the counter argument is, when we put it into perspective, is this, like a fully fleshed out argument, so that people don't make these kind of, well, what about isms in the comment section.
I saw a really awful one where someone was like, well, why would anyone work for that anyway when they could get a job for more?
Oh my gosh.
And someone was trying to explain, like, it's not necessarily that easy, or like, there's a lot of reasons why that might have to happen. But I think
you know what? You should go back into the comment section and be like, well, why aren't you getting
why aren't you a millionaire?
£1 million job? Why are you, living off 30 grand a year? Why don't you just go and get a better paying job?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you're right. I think conversations need to happen, need to be better. But I wouldn't mind betting. Like, do you think your niece would buy from these websites?
For sure.
Yeah. Would that be where she would go? Like, I wonder if, how younger people are starting to be more conscious of stuff.
And, but we're not immune to these temptations.
But I wonder if, like, in 10 years, it would be a real faux pas.
I think we can only choose from what's available to us. So when you're a teenager and you don't all
and
like
also
a
that's
young
when you're
woman,
essentially you're poorest.
Exactly, and you're poor, and so you don't have a lot of money to spend. We talked about inflation, things are just going up. So if your only option is to buy stuff at these fast fashion brands, then that's what you're going to do. Furthermore, when you're that age, yes, you might be the most well-intentioned young person. I mean, we're well-intentioned. We buy shit as well. Like, you can be so well-intentioned, but the pressure of being at uni and going clubbing every Friday and Saturday, you're gonna want to keep up with the other girls and look just as great as them, and that's the only way you can do it, because you can't spend like hundreds of pounds on new outfits and whatnot. So
to just get cheap alcohol thrown on you. Spilled on you, I should say.
And I think maybe it will only get worse. I mean, not to be really deep about it, but when you consider growing inequalities, like economic inequalities in our country and other countries, you consider inflation, stagnant wages,
it's gonna make it worse.
You either say I don't buy stuff in general, and I don't buy into those industries because I don't have the money for it and I don't think it's a good thing to do, or you're just gonna buy simply whatever you can afford. And if that's the cheapest of the cheap, made badly in bad warehouses using slave labor, then that's what you can do. I think that this is the problem, is that it always stems back to a cultural implication, like you said, of just everything, really. It's about people all having the means to be able to not have to spend that, do you remember when organic food became sort of a thing when we were younger? It was like, why would you buy organic? It's so expensive. And it's still expensive,
but like it's become more of a normal thing. And even just, I guess, was like not free range eggs. Oh my god, how dare you not? Or how dare you not get like
barn eggs and like barn raised hens and stuff like that.
But there are some people who have to buy like their food from the going out of date section, because that's, I think you have to make there be it has to be available for everyone, there's
recently I bought lemons, and
oh my god, lemons are so expensive.
Oh my god. So I bought we were both quarantining at home, and so we had to do an online shop. And obviously when you're ill and stuff, you go through, well, we do anyway, like I make a lot of lemon tea, like squeeze lemon in hot water and like honey and whatever. And so I was buying lemons, and I thought, you know what, I don't want the waxed ones, I want the unwaxed, like organic lemons, because
I have to use those for baking, like you the unwaxed ones.
And you try to like, I have a choice, I can make the choice, let me make the healthier choice, whatever. So I was like, the price isn't bad. The picture of the lemons, there was like 4 in a bag. So I was like, that's not actually, it's quite comparable, I'm gonna buy those ones. So I selected 2, because I thought I was selecting 2 packets, and I was actually selecting 2 lemons. So I paid about, let's say it was about like £1.50 per lemon.
Wow. Was it a nice lemon?
I mean, they tasted the same as the waxed ones.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what scammery is Asda doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's the
But
where you try to make positive changes, but I think
but it goes back to the equality of wages, and I don't know, it just like it all goes back to trying to make sure that people's salaries reflect what is going on. Like, I mean, I think we're about to enter, not to be morbid, a real crisis of that over the next few years. So it's not like then you can be telling people, oh my God, how dare you shop at Primark?
Yeah.
Like that's not actually the problem. It's that people who can go elsewhere, or maybe are like, oh my God, I didn't know that, I'm going to think about that now. I think that's all that you can do. And the company can make better choices.
Yeah, I think that there's policy changes that could be made too as well.
For sure.
The same way
especially with the climate change crisis, then like it needs to be enforced.
Yeah. There's we can, there are rules about pollution when you make things and when you build things. There's all these laws to make sure you protect the wildlife and whatnot. And I think we just have to be more serious as like a country, which we consume a lot. We live in general, we, compared to other countries, we use a lot of raw materials and things like that. And I think the fashion industry needs to be maybe regulated a bit more.
Yeah.
And I hate the idea of just like taxing everything to solve the problem, because I don't think that happens. No. But we have to create a real shift in what these companies are allowed to like dispose of each year. Things like that.
Yeah.
Pretty Little Thing is just an example of what is rampant in the fashion industry right now. And I think London Fashion Week, although they didn't co-sign Pretty Little Thing, I think that they should check a lot of the brands that they do feature on their official scheduling and try to pull everyone up to a higher standard. And
also, I definitely think they could have had the power to be like, you can't
stop mentioning us.
You can't call this a London Fashion Week event.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would like to hope that there is sort of that everyone has to enter their sort of ethical or whatever report to be able to take part in something like that, because it reflects like London Fashion Week is a brand. Like if I were a celebrity, I think it was somebody, it was an influencer, and they said had they ever regretted sort of working on something, and someone was like, oh, in the early days, maybe it was Nikki Tutorials. She was like, in the early days, I think she endorsed like a skinny tee. And she's like, I wish I had done my research on that, because actually people told me after I'd done it, and I was really sad to have taken that on. And so I think, when you do have, that's your brand, if you make a bad decision, that can really impact your livelihood. So I think all these people, any influencers, like the amount of people that you see being like, I'm wearing Pretty Little Thing, or I'm wearing this, it's like, those are the people who probably need to do a bit better.
Yeah, I think hauls have gone out of vogue. Haul was like a big thing that really helped propel a lot of these going out brands, Boohoo, Pretty Little Thing, all of that. Hauls was like,
look what I got for 30 quid.
Yeah, it was their bread and butter, wasn't it? And it wasn't just influencers doing it. It was normal people like you and me. You want to go out, let me order a few pieces, return the stuff that I don't want. Some people were wearing it on a night out and then returning it after. And then, and I think that doing that is far less popular than it used to be. I'm not a teenager, so I don't know. I'm not in the thick of it. But I just like on I don't think people do that as much. Do you?
No, I don't think so. Not that I've seen. Only maybe the people who want that shock factor, like, £500, so and so. Like, but it's never just sort of chipping away at. I popped to Boots today,
and I bought one item.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah.
Have you got anything else to add about this fashion show?
No, not really.
Or should we call it fashion exhibition? What was it? Showcase.
Showcase. Edit.
Maybe.
Okay. What's our poll this week?
I wonder if it should be something like, were you aware of sort of the ethics?
You
know?
Like, yeah, how aware are you of fast fashion processes? And
yeah,
that would be a good poll. Gauge what the what people's knowledge of these things are and how engaged they are with these issues.
Yeah.
Well, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of Style Over Substance, guys.
Don't forget to check out our Instagram or Spotify to respond to this week's poll.
Bye.